welcome back to the 12th Man Podcast. Saturday morning, only a few weeks left in the Premier League season. We've got two very down Liverpool fans. I'm hoping they come around a wee bit in this next hour or so, but they're going to be talking all about the Liverpool's shock defeat in the Merseyside derby, but also looking ahead to the future. It looks like Arne Slot is going to be announced as Liverpool manager in the next few days. We're going to be looking back at the midweek action, including ones for Man City and Arsenal. We'll look ahead to the weekend, including the North London derby. How can Man City be stopped? And the boys is going to take on the North London derby quiz before we preview this weekend's game. So, boys, great to have you on a Saturday morning. Liverpool kick off at 12:30. Team news in about 25 minutes. We'll bring you all the team news. Owen, how are you? It's been a tough few days, but you know what? You're still alive, so it's not all bad, is it?
No, like once the dust settles after a few days, you sort of move on to the next game. But I was heartbroken on Wednesday night. It was just sort of the realization of that's Klopp now. That's him done. He's not going to want anything else probably. So it was a bit of a downer. But then you hear all the news about the new manager, and then you start to get excited then for next season. So it's all a circle of being a football fan, isn't it? You're down 1 minute, you're up the next. So I'm just going to enjoy these last 4 games and come what may.
Yeah, Darren, Owen says that it's unlikely Klopp is going to win anything else in his Liverpool tenure. But hey, Liverpool are a club of miracles. They need probably the biggest miracle now from our teams to help them out. But if Klopp is going to get his hands on that Premier League trophy.
Look, I'm a realist, and I'm with Owen. I just don't think there's going to be anything else after what happened Wednesday night. I think it's a 2-horse race now. We've left it too late. But look, as you go back to what you says, Gareth, was it an upset on Wednesday night? I don't really think so.
Darren saying he doesn't think it was an upset. Owen, I mean, it looks now that it's going to be 3 teams that become 2 teams with 4 or 5 games to go. Everton, in my opinion, I thought it would be a difficult game, but I couldn't see Everton beating Liverpool. I just thought Liverpool would have too much, especially after getting the one on Sunday. I mean, were you like Darren? Were you in the camp of this was going to be, you could see the defeat coming, or did you think after Sunday that Liverpool were going to get back on the horse and finish the season strong?
I thought we were going to win, but when the game kicked off on Wednesday night, I could just tell first 5-10 minutes. I could just tell we weren't up for it. And Everton, fair play to Everton, they bullied us from start to finish. And I just think I just think these players are mentally checked out for this season. I just think they've, as you said to me, they've run themselves on the ground. But some of them just aren't good enough to be there anymore. And I include Salah in that. And I hate saying that because he's a legend and I love him. But he's just not cutting the mustard at this point in the season. And as I said before we came on, I don't think he's starting today. So it was just a disappointing night all around. And fair play to Everton. They've kept themselves up by that victory and cost us the league in doing so. So that'll be their wee trophy for the year.
Darren, Owen said that maybe the players are mentally checked out. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because a lot of them players have experienced Merseyside derbies. I don't think a lot of them. I think that might be a lot of their first loss, like the likes of Van Dijk. Apart from maybe the COVID year, they lost the game at Anfield. But in terms of going to Goodison Park, I think it's the first one for 13 years. You know, so they've played in Goodison Park. They know what they expect. But Klopp says he blamed himself because the players didn't seem to get the grasp of the physical game. But I'm sure Klopp would have mentioned that before the game. So maybe he was protecting the players. Do you think a lot of these players have just ran out of steam?
Definitely, it's you can see it even when they're at points in games that they're just standing off. You know, there's no press. We're renowned for our rock and roll football, as they say, heavy metal football. There's no press. They're just on the halfway line trying to make the pitch as small as possible, and sometimes they're getting caught on behind, and there's no press at all. You can see they're absolutely out in their feet. But another point as well, I think, is some men players know they're going in the summer.
Yeah.
And they know that and Klopp's not going to be there to save them. And that's a point I think is playing in the back of their heads as well. There's what's the point of me busting my ass round here now for the next 90 minutes, and in 3 months' time I'm going to be playing somewhere else and Klopp's going to be away.
Yeah.
That's why I feel now that like Salah, I know he's definitely going this summer. Everybody can see it. Nunez, Klopp's not going to be able to save him.
We'll come on to talk about some of the players that, like Salah, Van Dijk contracts are run down. We all expect Trent to sign. He's the one out of the three you would expect to sign. But Danny's saying here, probably Wednesday night was the first time a lot of Liverpool fans sort of went down the road of attacking Nunez instead of looking at the positives, where he's missed chances before and he says, look, he's doing a great job. The goals will come. Whereas I think it's came to a halt now because of what's happened the other night. The title race looks over for Liverpool. And Carragher, who's been quite supportive of Nunez, he attacked Nunez on air and says, unforgivable misses. He's had 2 years at Liverpool, still missing these chances. I don't know what his future holds. I mean, you were on the group chat the other night and you were quite vocal on Nunez. I mean, I know it's been a few days since, but what do you make of Darwin Nunez at Liverpool? Because it's almost like he threatens to do so well, but rarely ever does. He'll score the odd goal, he'll run himself on the ground, but when it comes to the big moments and big games, he often doesn't deliver. What's your thoughts on Nunez? He's 2 years at Liverpool plus any kind of future for him.
I think he's ran his course now. If you come for the kind of money that we paid for him, €85 million, you're expected to get results and he's expected to deliver. And to a certain extent, he has with assists and stuff like that. He's done all right, but in front of goal and for his numbers, not good enough. It's definitely not good enough. You've seen, look at the misses the last couple of weeks against United. No, he should be scoring goals. He should be scoring there. I would, as Owen says, we would do a better job in front of goal. How are you missing these chances? And I think it's time for him to be I do think Edwards has no ties to him, so he'll just say, right, see you later on, you're not doing it. And that's what's going to happen. I've lost patience with him. I've talked to Meets about this a couple of times. Meets is his biggest supporter, and I've said to Meets, he's absolutely dog's dinner in front of goal. Getting off the ball, running, and maybe running down the left hand side, he's good. But after that, no.
Well, it's a wee bit sad because there's no doubt the boy's trying. He's doing his best. Just lacks that composure, confidence in front of goal. I mean, he still has had 31 goal involvements this season, which you would say for a normal player is quite good. And maybe somewhere against lesser teams in the Europa League, but 31 goal involvements, that's either goals or assists. So the numbers suggest he's done okay, but you could probably pull up 31 other moments where he's missed sitters in front of goal, and that's probably the biggest indictment of it. So you're a massive supporter of Nunez. The other night you were kind of starting to think maybe it isn't going to work out, but it seems to be that the balance of probability suggests that Liverpool fans are now starting to think that realistically this man for the future isn't the answer if Liverpool are going to win Premier League. So how do you see it?
I agree with Darren. I don't think I agree with Darren to a certain point, but I don't think it'll be sold as canvases because we've seen reports from reliable journalists saying there's no chance of him being sold this summer. So it'll be interesting whether.
Do you think that's because the club still believe in him? I know there's talks now of maybe over the summer they're going to get in to see a psychologist to improve his finishing in front of goal. More not they believe his quality, but confidence and.
No way. You either have it or you don't, and he doesn't have it in front of goal.
I agree, but I think they're going to try this during the summer. But do you think it's because they still believe in Nunez, Owen, or do you think it's because they probably can't get a fee anywhere near what they paid for him?
Well, to be fair, there was reports that Chelsea wanted him last season, and if anyone's going to pay a stupid amount of money for players, it's them. So, I wouldn't. So they can come and pay 100 million and not care. But no, I don't. It's kind of a bit of both. I still think Liverpool believe that he'll come good, and I think it's because we paid so much money for him. They don't want to admit that he hasn't worked out. But if you're looking at our strikers, even Ollie Watkins he's not that good of a player, but he's a great finisher. And I take him at Liverpool. I take Isaac at Liverpool. There's so many.
Isaac seems to be the name on Liverpool's lips, Darren. Would Isak be a game changer for Liverpool? I mean, Newcastle paid about 60 million from 2 seasons ago. So you're probably chatting somewhere near 100 million to get him out. There's a 100 million release clause for Bruno Guimaraes. We know Newcastle are under pressure to sell players this summer in order to do business. I mean, do you think, well, I suppose I'll offer, would Isak be a massive improvement on what Liverpool have? And would you sanction somewhere near 100 million from Darren?
Absolutely.
Yep.
He's finishing's top
It
notch.
was only 2 weeks ago. Mickey van der Ven's been brilliant this season, but Isak ran Mickey van der Ven ragged, and Mickey van der Ven doesn't come on stock many times this season.
Absolutely. Probably Van der Ven's probably in the top 5 defenders in the Premier League on his day, and Isaac just absolutely tore him a new one. And Isaac doesn't even look like he broke a sweat. His finishing's unreal. Inside the box, he just has it, and I definitely would sanction the 100 million to go and get him. No, as Owen says, Ollie Watson's great finisher, but sometimes when Aston Villa's playing, sometimes I don't even know if he's on the pitch. You know what I mean?
Think Isak's a level above, isn't he?
Absolutely. Definitely would go all on and try and get Isak in the summer, even if Nunes stays. Definitely go all on and try and get him. Because look, as we're going to speak now and on the later on in the podcast about Edwards, he wants to build his own team, and I don't think Nunes is a part of it.
Argument that possibly you could sell. Diaz has been linked when we move away. You could sell Diaz, move Nunes to the left, and then make that room for a striker to come on, couldn't you?
Could. Aye, absolutely.
I think Nunes is better off the left. I don't think he's a striker.
That's what I think as well.
Boys, we'll speak about the future, but we'll come back to recent times. Liverpool have had a bit of a rocky spell. The only one, the only game on there, you could say maybe the away game at Atalanta, but that was more of a, well, it was at 1, but it didn't feel like a 1 because they were 3-0 down. They beat Fulham last weekend. And Klopp decided to ring the changes last week, but he went back on Wednesday night to his more tried and trusted team. Oh, and do you think that was a mistake after the likes of Gravenberch come on, done well, Elliott come on, done well? I know Jota was injured. Gapgo played, he done okay. But he went back to the Salah, Nunes, Diaz, McAllister, players that looked a wee bit tired in recent weeks. Maybe he thought the rest would do them good on the Sunday, but they come back in, and Liverpool looked like the Liverpool a week or two before that. So do you think maybe now looking at it, that was a mistake? They dropped players that were fresher and in form?
100%. But to be fair to him on the Gakpo one, his wife was having a baby, so he wasn't available. So, but I don't know why Gravenberch didn't start, because he had a great game against Fulham. And Klopp does this a lot. Players, I love Klopp, but players play well for us, and then he seems to go back to what he knows. But Harvey Elliott's been excellent this season off the bench. I don't know why he doesn't get more. I know Cam saying they would have struggled, but they're better in form than the players that were. Curtis Jones stunk up a gaff. Szoboszlai stunk up the gaff. The only player on Wednesday night that I thought was worth anything was Diaz. He was the only one that was trying for me. So I think Klopp did make a mistake in his team selection for definite, and we'll see with the team selection now. He's ringing the changes again, apparently. So I think Klopp as well.
Coming in about 10 minutes or so. But Owen, you believe you've got some team news there already? What's the big team news today?
Well, I know Salah's not starting, and I'm hearing Jaden Dan's as starting, but that's not confirmed yet. But I just think as well, Klopp's just mentally checked out himself. I think he's seen it Wednesday night. He was playing with his coach at one point. He's just done.
Trent has looked good since he's come back in terms of his range of passing and stuff, and Liverpool definitely must that, as Callum says. Darren, we spoke enough about Wednesday.
Thank God.
Let's look on the positives. I suppose it's maybe a belated positive, but I was at a first communion last night, 2 massive Liverpool fans, Mark and young Mark, and we were speaking about Liverpool, and I think we all were in agreement that Liverpool have probably overachieved this season in terms of when you look at the players they had 2-3 years ago. There's an argument that the players have come on. You look at Diaz for Mane, Nunes for Firmino, the midfield trio that were so reliable, Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, although McAllister and Szoboszlai are more technical, probably don't have the steel and protection the defence had when them boys was on their peak. So, I mean, do you think when you look at that, you look at Man City, who are always strong, Arsenal have come into the picture. It's no longer 2 teams going for it. Over the last 2 years, Arsenal have emerged. And if you look at some of their players, they've spent a lot of money. Declan Rice was probably the signing of the season. you think Liverpool have done well to be up there competing with them two teams for so long this year?
I think we have massively overachieved this year. Now, no Liverpool supporter, I'll admit it, like, but we had like, if somebody says to us, "Oh, and at the start of the season, right, you get the Carabao Cup and you get third in the league, take it now," what would you say? You took our arm off them after the season we had last year.
Probably the Europa League. I think not even so much the Europa League, but the fact the final was in Dublin. I think a lot of Irish Liverpool fans were disappointed, more so than any other season, that they didn't make that final. That's probably the one thing that they're really disappointed about. Or not, I think it's been really positive.
Look, he's brought through, like, we look, it was forced on us, but we brought through a couple of gems from the under 21s that looked like they could go on and start in the Premier League for us. We went far. We went in the quarterfinals in the Europa League. We got the quarterfinals in the FA Cup. We won a cup. We're going to get in the Champions League again this year. From last year. It's a massive step forward. We overhauled our midfield at the start of the season. You know, we sold most of our midfield and had to bet on 2 or 3, like Endo, Szoboszlai, and McAllister were only all bought last season, so they all have to. You have to give them bedding on time. So I think we have overachieved this year, to be honest. But it still feels like we should have had that. We should have went on and done a wee bit extra.
I think the way it's finished. Darren, what about this comment from Danny, Man United fan? He says that if United won the FA Cup, they've had a better season than Liverpool. I mean, would you go along with that?
Danny, come on. I'm going to sound like Stephen here, man. But come on, Danny, you're clutching the straws there. If you go on and won that FA Cup, then I'm coming on this next time after the FA Cup and calling this podcast with no clothes on. Because I'll tell you what, you were lucky to even get where you got there. You struggled to get past Coventry, a championship side that might not even make a playoffs. You know, and you were lucky. It was. So I'm not going to say any more about them. They're not even relevant anymore.
They'll probably lose to Burnley today at home.
They should be 4 down at half time against Sheffield United.
Owen, same sort of question to you. I mean, it looks likely they're going to. I mean, barring a collapse, they'll finish third minimum. I think 1-1 would confirm that. In the last 4 games, which you would definitely expect Liverpool to get. And they're going to win the League Cup. They're going to win the league. They're going to win the league. They've won the League Cup already. But as Darren says, do you think a lot of Liverpool fans are just disappointed of how it's ended? You know, if you had us as in August before a ball was kicked, they're going to win a League Cup and finish in the top 3. They would have put your hand off for it. But do you think it's just the way it's gone, that the fact before that Crystal Palace game, Liverpool were in a really strong position, really? And what do you think's caused this sort of downturn in form? Because a lot of people, I think Rooney says on Sky the other night, maybe something to do with Klopp announcing he was leaving. He says, I think he done it the right way in terms of, you know, it would have been awful if he had announced at the end of the season he was leaving. Now Liverpool fans have a chance to give him a send-off. And there's an argument that if he didn't announce it when he did, he wouldn't have got the best out of some of the squad players that come in when a lot of the main players were injured. So do you think there's just, once you get that one defeat, we're going to speak about the inevitability of Man City? Maybe some of them Liverpool players are fractured by playing in title races against Man City when you realistically know they're not probably going to drop a point. Do you think that one defeat has just kind of, they've sort of said, you know what, Man City are just going to win every game, the season's over?
The one that did it for me wasn't even the Crystal Palace, it was the draw at United.
Aye. I was going to say that.
The draw away at United, that was a heartbreaker too, because we should have been 5-0 up in that one at half time. But I don't know if it's so much to do with Klopp leaving, because the club knew from November, I think, and then the players knew when he announced it. But surely, if they know he's leaving, they should still give everything they can. They want every the one for me. Obviously, losing the league hurts, but the Europa League, we should be walking that competition. And losing, I know Atalanta's a decent Serie A team, but we shouldn't be losing 3-0 to them at home, no matter what team we play. So I think, as Darren says at the start of the season, if you had said third in a cup, I would have been like, you know what, that's a good season for a team who's rebuilt their full midfield. But to me, it feels like Klopp's leaving a year early, because it's his team he built, and now there's a new man coming in, and some of these players mightn't be here.
We'll get confirmation in the next 7 months or so, but Callum seems to have the team. It's going to be Allison, Trent, Kwanzaa, Van Dijk, Robertson, McAllister, Endo, Gravenberch, Diaz, Gapco, and Elliott. So a few changes in there. And we'll bring you that team news in the next 7 minutes or so when it's confirmed. But Darren, before we move on to talk about the future, 4 games left for Klopp. The league might not be on. Who knows? You never know. After today and tomorrow, they might feel that it is on. You just cannot predict this Premier League season the way it's going. But aside from that, how do Liverpool rally now and finish strong? Klopp's last 4 games. There's 2 home games in there as well. You know, I would still imagine the Wolves game at the end of the season will still be very much a party atmosphere. Maybe even more relaxed than it would have been, because if you had been going on that final day, a point behind Man City, everybody's maybe focused on everything else and probably downbeat the fact that they would expect Man City to win. The fact maybe now they can relax and maybe celebrate the last 8.5 years of Klopp, give them a big send-off. I mean, how would you look forward to these next 4 games now?
No pressure. No pressure now. Just enjoy watching your team play. The boys should just go out now and play football, and no pressure on results. If you happen to get a result and then maybe the teams you're chasing need the one, you're just going to play football now, like it was at the start of the season, where nobody expected as the go to Man City and get a result, go to Chelsea and get a decent result. Nobody. The start of the season, we weren't expected this, and boys were just going and playing football, and that's what they should be doing now. Just no pressure. Just go now, play football, see what happens, because the pressure's all now on Arsenal and Man City. Them two have the pressure. Liverpool aren't expected to do anything now. So just go now. Play. They should go out today, play football, because West Ham aren't pulling up any trees at the minute. Like,
yeah,
they were absolutely destroyed against Crystal Palace.
I think there's a consensus too at West Ham that this is Moyes' last 4 games, and so that there's maybe an element in the West Ham team that it's probably run its course. Recent weeks, West Ham have really been poor. They conceded 5 last week at Palace, so maybe we could see a bit of a testimonial game today. I'm not sure. I don't think it'll be a classic, but that is going to kick off the weekend. Owen, do you play slot machines? Because I'm hearing there's a slot machine getting put on the Melwood. There's one getting put on the Anfield.
You're full of fucking puns this weekend.
I don't want to be critical, but I know I've loved the Liverpool, and slot machines is what people love. So there's one good on the Liverpool team, Owen. So what do you think of that?
Well, it could have been going to Spurs last season. But to be honest, like as you were saying to me, I honestly do believe if we had got Alonso, that would have been done and dusted, and then Amram. But you were saying to me the whole time, Amram was like you were saying, not the guy, and I wasn't convinced. But to be honest, I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched Feyenoord, because I haven't. But as you do when a manager's coming in, you read up on their style of playing. Apparently, Liverpool believe he's quite similar to Klopp. He's a character. He plays the sort of same football, possession-based football, likes to press, likes to man work. The only difference is he plays a 4-2-3-1 instead of a 4-3-3. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of players he brings. But I honestly think
with more of a playmaker, and Klopp always says that his press was better than any playmaker. So it's a different, similar kind of style, but not completely the same.
Fabio Carvalho's on loan at Hull, and I'd be giving him a look in pre-season as a number 10, because he's been pulling up trees at Hull. I know it's a different level, but he didn't seem to get on with Klopp, and maybe that's what some of these players need. As much as Klopp is a legend, he does have his favourites, as often managers do. So maybe some of these players just need a fresh
Danny loves Liverpool, and he'll tell you there's a slot machine in every corner of the street. So and he's played a few of them. So he'll tell you all about it. Callum believes slots a big gamble. They paid.
Is that a pun?
You can't split the owners because they paid a fee for manager around 10 million euros. We're hearing. Let's give it time and see how he does. He goes. The reason when I thought that Amram was never going to come on was there was a lot of smoke and no fire really, and the other thing was that he plays the 3 at the back, and I just couldn't see Liverpool going down that route. And if he had a come on, Darren, and Amram says, you know what, I'm going to play a 4-3-3. That's not his game, so I never really seen the Amram thing happening.
Look, I've had conversations with Owen about our next manager, and I just jumped on the bandwagon with everybody else, thinking, like, if this is the man, I'm going to get behind him. But
Yeah.
I could never. Look. I think I've seen Sporting Lisbon play maybe once in the last 2 years, and I don't really. I can't really say much about him. Like, so I didn't know much about him. I was just what I was doing was just reading what people were telling me. So I didn't know much about him, and I was just jumping on the bandwagon with everybody else. But obviously, I was really behind Alonso, seeing what he's doing with Bayer Leverkusen. But the foreigner asked me last week, a couple of weeks ago, before we heard about Alonso not coming, he says, "What about you get up Alonso, boy? You'll be looking good for next season." I says, "You know what, boy?" I says, "I wouldn't take a Liverpool job if I was Alonso. He's flying me Bayern Munich, Bayern Leverkusen." I says, "Why would you leave a team that you're flying with and you haven't even tried and test yourself against anybody in the Champions League with a team you've got?" So that's why that was my thummy. But back to Arne Slot, very underwhelming, if you ask me. That's my opinion. Very underwhelming.
You're not on this sort of bandwagon of Slot's going to come on and he's going to take over. You don't see
it's going to be one of those things. It's not going to be. It's going to be the Brendan Rodgers effect, if you ask me. Everybody behind him. Right, we have we have a decent season when he comes on, and the next season we're going to be flying, and then after that, then we're just going to go up. I just think it's very underwhelming. I'll get behind the manager, and I'll always back him, but he needs to prove himself to me because I don't know what he's like. So he needs to prove himself.
Darren, like a good point there. When Klopp came in, I don't think he had anything to prove. Really, the only proof could he do it in England. He done it with Germany. He won in Germany with Dortmund. He overachieved with Mainz. Won the league at Dortmund. Got that Champions League final. And they were beat very close to the end of the game. 2-1 at Wembley. Arjen Robben's goal, of course, but they proved they battered Real Madrid over 2 games in the semi-final that year. He was a big name in football. Slot doesn't have that reputation yet, but do you think he is the right man to come on? And it was always going to be difficult to replace Klopp, but do you think he is the man to come on and sort of take Liverpool into this new generation? How do you see it?
I would be less confident if Michael Edwards wasn't there, because I think Slot isn't going to have much control over transfers. I think that's going to be Edwards and Hughes' job. I think Liverpool are going down the road of he coaches the team, we deal with the transfers, you get results, sort of thing.
Do you think that's a bit of a concern, though, that maybe he's happy just to be a coach and doesn't want control, and maybe a big name coach wouldn't settle for that? They would want to have an influence on who's coming on. Do you think that's a bit of a negative, that he's basically he knows his place?
Every coach needs to have some sort of input on what players they want to coach. So he's going to have to have some sort of influence. He can't be just left to empty boys all the time, because if he's left it, they're not coaches, they're not managers. They're sporting directors. So they're there to do their job. He's there to do his job, but they have to help him do his job, if you know what I mean.
But then I was reading too. Klopp was very insistent on Nunes, and the club didn't want Nunes. It was a Klopp signing. So
we're going to speak about Edwards very shortly. Article yesterday in the Telegraph from Jamie Carragher. He believes that Liverpool were crazy not to consider Tuchel. If you look at what he's done at Mainz after Klopp, he replaced Klopp at Dortmund as well. Done pretty well there. Won the Champions League with Chelsea. He says anyone that can beat Pep Guardiola in a final is a top manager. Of course, they beat Man City in the Champions League final in 2021. Bayern Munich hasn't gone maybe the way everybody wanted, but he did win the league last year, despite coming in middle of the year. Obviously, Bayern Leverkusen have blown them away in Germany, but they are in the Champions League semi-final. And if they were to get past Madrid, you'd probably make them favourites for the final. So they have a chance of still winning the Champions League this year. Owen, well, I'm going to ask both of you this. I'll come to you first, Owen. What do you think of Carragher's thoughts? And do you think Tuchel should have been considered? If you look out there, you think maybe Mourinho and Conte's maybe are past their best, don't play attractive football, but you'd probably say the biggest all-name manager that could be available this summer is Tuchel. He's won a Champions League at Chelsea as well. I mean, do you think Liverpool should have been looking at Tuchel as a possible replacement for Klopp?
Not for me. He's a top manager, but he always falls out with his board, and I just don't think it'd be a good fit. He's not. We need a character in the touchline, and he's very stoic and very. I know he goes mad at times, but he's not the right character for me. And I would just think of oh, Klopp's leaving this job, I'll go to this job, like he's done in his career. So no, not for me. Top manager, but I can see him going to United in the summer if he's that type of manager. Goes to United, goes to Chelsea. He's not a Liverpool man for me.
Darren, what about you, Tuchel?
I agree with you, Owen. He's every Liverpool manager in the past, except for maybe one or two, had they had a great character, and they embedded themselves under the Liverpool way and the fans and all. And I don't think Tuchel is that kind of man. He's just very cold, very right. I'm here to do a job. That's it. Look at Klopp's done. He's embedded himself under the Liverpool way, and that's what you have to do when you're a Liverpool manager. And like it just feels different when you're a Liverpool supporter. You're the way the manager is. You have to like Ken Dalglish. Every Liverpool fan love him because of what he's done. Even Graham Souness, we all love him, even though he was awful as a manager, but he bettered himself on the Liverpool way. Roy Evans the same. Julier, we all love them. Even Rafa Benitez, and he wasn't really. His family still love Liverpool, so you just have to accept. I don't think Tuchel is that kind of guy.
The only manager in my lifetime that I've hated for Liverpool is Roy Hodgson. Everyone
our name came up, and you were right on this from the start. You said De Zerbi, not for me. Danny suggested De Zerbi might have been the man. What do you think about that?
Me or Darn?
Sorry, Owen.
No, because he gets battered every single week. Got battered against Luton, got battered against Man City. And I know he plays nice football, and I know his teams. I know he can batter teams, and on their day they can play well. But he's not. No, I think he's been very overhyped because of I just think he's overhyped, and I think he's going to end up at Bayern if Ralf Rangnick doesn't get the job. But De Zerbi, nah, not for me.
Boys, we'll move on and talk about Michael Edwards, because obviously he's returning this summer. He's going to be bringing the Bournemouth sporting director Hughes with him. So that looks like the new transfer committee at Liverpool, with the head coach Arne Slot being. We don't know how much control he'll have, but we would imagine he may have a say in something. He may be presented with players. Famously, Edwards talked Klopp out of signing Julian Brandt instead of Mo Salah. I don't know how it went, but I would imagine if Klopp wanted Brandt, Edwards would have done some sort of presentation on why Salah was the better pick, and I would still imagine Klopp had the final say. But he was very persuasive in the Salah situation, and I would imagine it'll be something similar. Spurs at the minute have a similar setup where Ange is given basically a presentation on players, and he has the final say on certain players. But obviously, the big persuasion comes from the directors. And I think a lot of clubs work like that now. We do see more head coaches than managers. So Michael Edwards is back. Owen, is that nearly as big as Klopp going? Do you think him coming back? We've seen in the last couple of seasons, I know Liverpool have signed some good players, but the recruitment probably hasn't been as strong as it was when Edwards was there. And you look at the likes of Nunez, Diaz, Gakpo, Gravenberch, probably haven't hit the ceilings of previous signings when Edwards was there. So could this be as big as Klopp leaving?
For me, I don't think Edward would come back if Klopp was still the manager, because I think they had it hasn't been like put out there, but I think they had a falling out. So the fact that Edwards is back, it softens the blow of Klopp leaving, because I know what he can do before. Like, and Richard Hughes, I don't know much about him, but he did a decent job at Bournemouth. Big step up going to a club like Liverpool, of course. But for me, I think Edwards and Hughes, I think we're in good hands, no matter who the manager is, because they're good at their jobs, and they're very experienced. And Edwards is in a higher role than he was in last time he was here, so he'll definitely have more say than he did before. And he had a lot of say before. So I'm happy we are boardroom at the minute. Whether we spend now in the summer, if we don't spend a lot of money that we need to, I could have a different story. But I am hearing that Arne Slot is a big fan of what do you call him, Somerville from Leeds. I think he's a player that we're looking at. So
also the Atlanta midfielder as well, Cooper Miners, or he's been
we were linked with him last summer as well. So there must be something there.
I can tell you, boys, that Callum's team they got about 7 minutes before kickoff is bang on Liverpool's team for today. Darren, what do you make of that team?
Look, it doesn't matter what team we put out. Gareth at the minute, it's just go and play football, enjoy yourselves, lad. The last couple of days, weeks now, we Klopp. No, that team to me says we need to win because you've got 1, 2, 3, you've four really good. Well, the four up front. That's four. That's a four front man there. Grav, Diaz.
Maybe David Moyes knows the game's up because he has went very attacking. He's got Aurelio in goal, back four of Kufel, Zuma, Agbona, Emerson, Soucek, and Alvarez. But he usually plays with like 3 holding midfielders. He's gone with them 2 and a front 4 of Bowen, Paqueta, Kudos, and Antonio. So a lot of threats for West Ham as well. Maybe that tells you that Moyes is going to handbrake off. I've only got 4 games to go out. I'm going to.
He's throwing the kitchen sink out today. But that could play into our hands because we're better whenever a team tries to come at us. We're a lot better when somebody wants to come out and play. And anybody like look, Everton, they were brilliant on Wednesday night against us. I'm not going to say it. They absolutely beat us around that park. But in the last 20 minutes, they just sat back and went low block, and we struggled back time.
You think West Ham today, there's an opportunity for Liverpool? Do you look at some players? You look at the likes of Bowen, Paqueta, Kudos, any of them 3 in your mind, Darren? You would take a Liverpool?
Absolutely. Bowen. I love Bowen. I think Bowen's wasted at West Ham. See if he went to anywhere else, he'd be a diamond. I'm telling you now. I would love him at Liverpool. He plays off a right or off a left. He can play through the middle, and he's a proven goal scorer. Like he's West Ham top goal scorer the last 2 seasons. So he's not a one season wonder. Like, so look, I think it would be a great replacement in my eyes. It'd be a good replacement for Salah, and it's a lot cheaper.
Owen, what about you? I know you're a big fan of Kudos.
But I agree too. Yeah, like I would have took Bowen as well. And funny enough, Klopp is a big fan of Bowen, but so maybe he might have one last wee say before he leaves.
Let's come back to Michael Edwards, Darren. Your thoughts on his return to Liverpool and what the future may hold?
I think as Owen says, we're in great hands. The man built a Champions League and a League One team. He built that team, you know what I mean, and started with Salah coming on. It's Mane. It was him signed Mane as well. Salah. He signed Wijnaldum. Players like that there, Van Dijk. Player Alisson. He changed the way we were playing. He changed our culture. He changed everything about the team. Him and Klopp at the top were just. We had a great structure from top to bottom, and I'm excited for next season to see what he's going to bring now. I know next season's not going to. I don't think next season's going to. We're not going to be pulling up any trees next season. But if we've got the right man, the right position in the club, and look, with Arne Slot now coming on, we'll see what he does. But I'm excited for Edwards back because he's proven that they can get the great players for the right positions in the team.
Boys, we're going to talk about. We've done nearly 40 minutes on Liverpool. We didn't expect it as long, but there's so much to talk about. We're going to talk about
your numbers on the podcast must be big for Liverpool.
All Liverpool fans watch the podcast. To be fair to them, I've got a wee bit of a soft spot for these. We're going to talk about your second favourite team, Man City. They're a wee bit like me and Darren were speaking about last night. It's like when you get your payslip, like yesterday at the end of the month, and you look at the payslip and you see the tax that comes out. It's a wee bit like Man City. You just know they're difficult game away at Brighton. You know they're going to go there and win, and they won 4-0. Are they just an inevitable team that just wins and wins and wins when they're in this kind of form?
No, Man City are like a team who doesn't pay their taxes. But anyway,
very good.
But I've had this discussion with you. You don't agree with me, but the league's just it's boring. We're having the same team win every year. We know starting next season who's going to win the league. Man City. Like it's just it's inevitable. Like, and fair play. I have nothing against the players or anything like that. They're wonderful. They watch. Like, we'll talk about it. But Phil Foden's he's on a different planet at the minute, isn't he?
Love him.
Boys, there's just a quick question here from Danny about Salah. What do you think he would go for this summer? He's saying, would you get 60 million? What do you think they're looking at?
I think if the Saudis really want them, they'll pay up the 70, 75 maybe.
I think if he is going to go to the Saudis and it's Edwards overseeing the transfer, I think we'll get 100 from him.
I think they'll definitely get 100 million euros
Aye.
minimum. Kieran Meets is saying 150. I don't think I get that for a player with 1 year left. But come back to Man City. Darren, you've been in this situation 2 times before. Maybe it's over this time a lot quicker than it was before. Who knows after this weekend, as we said. But we've seen it with Arsenal last year. How disheartening is it chasing this Man City team? You know, I think when Liverpool lost to Palace, I think there was almost a consensus in the dressing room that, you know what, we're not going to be able to return today because they're just going to win every game. As it's disheartening as a fan as it is for the players as well.
It's what it is. You can't lose a game, even if it's the start of the season. If you lost a game at the start of the season, you're chasing them straight away. They're just a juggernaut. And look, I hope they get absolutely roasted with these 115 charges. I really do, because see if they for this just to save English football. And as they save English football, gives everybody else that it's open season. Then you don't know who's going to win the league. But if they don't get hit with these charges and they get let off or whatever happens, it's just right back to square one. Right, it's everybody else against City, and that's what it is. You know, Arsenal have pushed them last year and this year, and we pushed them for 4 or 5 years before that, and we managed to win the league once, but. You know, it's does so to hurt. You're like, if you lost one game or even draw a game, you're like, you know, City's going to just won the game. If won the day that you've lost or drew, it's just so disheartening. You're just like, right, what's City going to do? It's just so it's just a nightmare. Like, it's a nightmare.
They've scored 17 goals on their last 4 Premier League games. That's 5-4-4-4. Do you see any way they drop points in their last 5 games?
No, I did at a point, but the way they're playing at the moment, the way they're playing at the moment, like who are they playing this weekend? Nottingham Forest. Dear Jesus, that's gonna be a bloodbath, and especially the referees already give City a lot, so they're definitely gonna give them a lot in this match because of what Forest have done last week. But no, I don't think they'll drop points in the
as you can see from the comments, there's not many people interested in Man City. They just want to keep talking about Liverpool. we move on.
That's significant to the club they are.
Listen, like I was watching the match on Wednesday night, but see after the match is over, you know, there were so many people saying Man City's going to win the league, and you know, because of the football they play and blah blah blah. See, on Thursday night, then after Man City match, I was scrolling through Twitter, whatever, and I knew your man, Mark Goldbridge.
Yeah.
He
left his life
after half time, and he had a rant about this ridiculous. It's getting boring. The Premier League are giving Man City, the PGMO have given Man City everything.
I think it is getting boring because I look at different news because I haven't been fractured by this Man City dominance.
You're a Spurs fan. You don't want the 100. You're all right.
The way I look at it is before Wednesday night, there was 3 teams going for a Premier League title with 4 games to go. I don't find that particularly boring. I think that's great. You look at the French league, it's over. The Spanish league, it's over. The German league, it's over. Whereas this league is still up for grabs. I know Man City are favourites, but you know, if Arsenal and Liverpool had kept them honest, it would have went to the final day again. You know, Man City are going for the 4 in a row. But if you look at a lot of them years, Liverpool ran them close to a point twice. Liverpool dominated it 1 year. I know Man City have had a couple of years where they dominated, but you know, Arsenal last year ran them quite close for a long way. I don't think it's as boring as what everyone says it is.
Because Gareth, you know why? This is why. Because everybody knows that Man City's not going to lose a game. But if it was Liverpool and Arsenal left, and them 2 were going for it, you would think, Jesus, is Liverpool and Arsenal going to win every game? Because they're not sure. But everybody knows Man City will win every game, and they'll lift the league. That's what it is.
That's why when Man City lose a game, that's why it's a whole like, oh my god, Man City lost the game. But
Mates hasn't give up yet. He says Spurs is going to spank City and Arsenal, and we're going to win 5-0 today. So we're back on.
Mates still thinks Nunez will win. I'll get the Ballon d'Or this year, for God's sake.
Boys, what do you think has to happen. I have a funny feeling which you're going to say. You're probably going to mention 115 things, but what's going to stop this Man City dominance? Because I don't necessarily think it's just the charges. I think if they
Two
do want it
things.
this year, what more realistically can Pep achieve at Man City? He'll have broke the record for how many Premier Leagues they've already won the treble. It's very difficult to say I want to try and win another treble because you could lose one cup game and that's over. Or going an unbeaten season, I think one game it can be lost on. So it's very difficult to try and set out to do that. So there's an argument that maybe Pep it may run its course, that he may want to change, or he may feel that he could, if he stays on, he damages it. How many of them Man City players are going to be motivated again next year to go and win after winning the 4 in a row? You know, there was question marks about the treble, but after this, now realistically, they can't really achieve any more in the Premier League in terms of, you know, well, if they won it again, it's 5 in a row, but they've no records they break in that scenario. They've done the treble, they've won doubles, they've won domestic trebles. So I think maybe Pep, it isn't going to last much longer than what it is now. Do you think that could also come into play, Owen, that despite the charges hanging overhead, that if Pep goes, Man City will still be a force? But when they were coming through under Pellegrini, Mancini, they were winning things in splits and splats, whereas now under Pep, it's been dominant comes on.
Well, hopefully not from my point of view, because I'm sick of them. I can't stand them. No, Pep leaving will be a big thing, but there's always going to be these charges hanging over them until that's resolved. Then nothing's going to satisfy me one way or another. It has to be resolved, but we all know how it's going to be resolved. They're going to have the best lawyers. They're going to find loopholes to get out of it, and then we're going to have the same cycle again. But I think when Pep leaves, it will be more competitive. But I still think they'll have the best players there. They'll still go on and win leagues regardless of who the manager is. Maybe not as dominant, but they'll still win leagues.
Before we move on to the North London derby, lads, question on screen from Richard here, Darren. He says that, would you be worried if Slot was a yes man and he didn't have any control over what was happening?
He has I think he is a yes man. He will be a yes man for the first season. No, he just wants to get started. He will be a yes man. Anything he's like, Slot has to have confidence in the boys above him to be able to do his job right. You know what I mean? And that's just the end of the story. And Richard Hughes hasn't really got that much of experience as Liverpool, but Edwards does, and Slot's not stupid. He's going to see, right, what did Edwards do before? Right, look what he done before. I thought
it was Richard Hughes commenting on our podcast, so that's what I looked at his name.
maybe that's his. Maybe he changed his name.
Maybe it's an alias. Maybe Hughes is watching, boys. Any tips for Richard Hughes? Spam.
Just spend money.
Right, get a checkbook out, Richard.
Boys, we're going to come on to talk about the North London derby. Danny's just saying it's a squad depth that makes City so strong. You look at the players they have on the bench they can bring on, and you know the fact that they just spent 60 in Phillips and they just loaned them out tells you that how strong they are. Boys, North London derby tomorrow. This fixture for me, as soon as the fixtures come out in June, I look for the 2 games.
It's my favorite game outside of Liverpool games.
I'm a same.
And I thought Gary Neville said that during the week. It's his favorite game they commented on. And when I looked at it this year, you know, Arsenal was coming up. The Spurs at the end of April with 4 games to go or 5 games to go. How big it was going to be, and ultimately it is big because Arsenal are very much on the title race. You know, Arsenal have had a lot of questions put at them over the last couple of years. You know, they fell away last year. They were questioned in the Champions League. Could they go to Bayern Munich and get a result? Ultimately, it was too much for them in Europe. But they've probably proven themselves in the Premier League in terms of they've beat Man City home, drew away, beat Liverpool at home, drew away. They've been unbeaten against them teams this year. The 2 teams that were fighting for the league. But as this the ultimate test, the one for Arsenal, you know, we've seen it with Liverpool. They aren't going to your rival when you're in a title race. Spurs is obviously a much stronger side than Everton, but you know, Arsenal haven't had the best time against Spurs at their ground in recent years. They did one there last year, but it was they haven't had too many ones at Spurs, White Hart Lane or the new stadium since Spurs sort of emerged themselves as a team that fights for top 4. So as this their final test, if they were to go to Arsenal and won, or go to Spurs and won, it shows you that they're a proper side and that they can compete for trophies.
100%. Like they're gonna be walking on the like a hostile. It's gonna be a fire pit tomorrow. They're gonna be walking on the like a hostile environment. Spurs do not want, no matter what Spurs are playing for, fourth, fifth, whatever. Spurs would take finishing 17th if it meant Arsenal didn't win the league. Like so, I think Spurs players are gonna be bang up for it. Whether that results in you winning is a different thing, because Arsenal are a quality side, and so are Spurs in their day, but. Spurs are like Liverpool in a way. They just can't defend. Every time a team goes forward, you think there's gonna be goals, and these are missing. As a your doggies out now for the rest of the season. I think that's a big blow. But it's for me as a neutral fan, like it's gonna be a great watch. Like so, I'm sure you'll be waking up tomorrow with knots in your stomach.
Yeah, Darren, if Arsenal went to Spurs and won, how big would that be for them? Not just this season, but future. You know, they go to a title race and your most fiercest rival, who are a decent side. They're not, you know, as we said, there's quite a gap between Everton and Liverpool, but Spurs Arsenal's a lot closer. Arsenal obviously the stronger team, but these results season on season tend to be quite mixed. You know, whereas Everton haven't beaten Liverpool for 13 years, Spurs and Arsenal regularly compete against each other. One team wins or there's draws on there, but there's it's a mixed record over the last 10 years or so. So to go there when you're in a title race, that's a lot of pressure, and it takes a lot of courage to go and can play, because as Owen speak about, the atmosphere is going to be intense. I've seen some of the stuff that Spurs fans is organising. It's not going to be a friendly welcoming for Arsenal.
Good. No, I if Arsenal go to Spurs and get 3 points tomorrow, no matter how they get it, then real deal. I'll hold my hands up and say, you know what, fair play. They're the real deal, because it just seems that this is the game. If anything was going to happen with the real Arsenal's title challenge, it's going to be this game. And if they get through this game tomorrow, then 100%, I can see them going on and pushing Man City the whole way, because it'll put massive pressure on Man City if Arsenal get a one.
Especially as well when they're kicking off directly after away at Forest, who we know Forest are out for blood after what happened last week. They're fighting to stay up. That won't be an easy game for Man City, especially if Arsenal were to go and wipe the floor with Spurs.
Well, I do fancy Man City. They pummel Forest after the way they formed on Thursday night. They didn't even get out of the third gear on Thursday night. It was that easy for them, and they still beat them 4-0. So I do fancy Man City. They don't like it. Man City's been there, done it. They've got the T-shirt. They know the crack. So I'm not worried about that. But for Arsenal, they go to Spurs and get 3 points. With a pressure, the Alexa pressure on them, fair play, I do, but doing it and saying it is two different things. And
definitely,
you know, I just don't want to listen to Stefan if they win.
Stefan's actually in Dubai, so he's on his holiday. Boys, Danny's saying it on screen here. Obviously, we all have our favorite games, but as a neutral, you know, watching as this one of the best games, because you know there's usually goals on it. They're very much over the years. Spurs and Arsenal have always been attacking teams. I know Spurs went through a bit of a cycle every Mourinho and Conte, but all in that, they've always been a team that tries to win games. And we can think back to the Aussie Ardiles days, where if they would lose games 5-4, you know, they were that type of side. Spurs, they always signed the likes of your Klunsmans, your Genoas, Flair players. They were always very much didn't win much, but they always tried to win games. And I think even when they played Arsenal, when Arsenal were in their pomp, they always give Arsenal a half decent game, and it's obviously leveled out over the last few years now that there's not as much between the teams as there once was. When you think back to the Wenger days when they were winning leagues, Arsenal. But you know, is it a great watch? One, I mean, is this one of the games you look at? You know, you wake up on a Saturday and you think North London Derby this weekend. Can't wait to watch that.
Oh, but as a neutral fan, I think it has to be top of my list. But to be fair, do you know what other game I really enjoy watching? Liverpool versus Spurs. I think there are great games too and that's coming up next weekend, is it? So that'll be good crack. That'll probably end about 6 each. But no, the North London Derby is probably my top game as a football fan. Not doing my Liverpool.
I think what made this Darn as well so special is I think for a lot of years Spurs really despised Arsenal because they were winning everything. They went unbeaten in a season. They were dominating. There's also that thing that they came from Woolwich, come into North London, took over. Their fan base is bigger than Spurs. There was that hatred from Spurs. The Sol Campbell thing really drove it over the edge. If you remember that Sol Campbell, when he first went back after he left Spurs, the Arsenal, that first game back at White Hart Lane. Martin Keown says he's never played in such a hostile. He says genuinely there was people out there that wanted to kill Sol. And Spurs fans have that famous song about Sol Campbell being Judas. But I mean, I think what's made it even more intimidating is that fact that over the last number of years, Spurs have got a lot stronger. They've went from mid-table to fighting for top 4. Before last season, they finished above Arsenal for 6 seasons. So I think the hatred from Arsenal is now there as well. They hit Spurs more than ever because Spurs have got closer to them. So is that what makes this derby so special, that you've got 2 teams that are over the last 10 years have been quite similar in level? Obviously, Arsenal being stronger now, but for a number of years under Pochettino, Spurs were the stronger side. So, whereas Liverpool-Everton, it's a bigger game for Everton than it is for Spurs. I would say equally now, this derby means as much. They both sets at players, fans, coaches.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Gareth. As you says, it wasn't really on level pegging in the early 2000s, whenever Arsenal were winning leagues. But over the last, I would say, about 8 years, Spurs have really come on their own and started actually catching up on Arsenal, and it's a great game. I love the game. I think it's any derby's a good game, but this game here is just that wee bit extra. It's like Spurs are my second favourite team. I love Spurs. I'll always back Spurs. Like, I think are a great side, and I love watching them. Even in White Hart Lane days, I don't know what it was. It was just the way the camera was and the stadium was, and it was just a great watch. Like, and I always, that's one of the games I'll always look for. Always look for derbies. The first game I look for is Man United game for Liverpool, then the Everton game, then the Man City game, and then Arsenal and Spurs. That's my 4 I always look for. And
your dog, mate.
Look at Modric.
Yes, kid.
Your dog made an appearance on the podcast.
This is looking at them after. Boys, we're gonna before we talk about the game. Outside of the game, it's really is a must-win for both teams. We're talking about Arsenal going for the league, but the Spurs winning Rayland Villa, you feel they have to win this game on Sunday. So, Owen, is it 1 or bust for Spurs in the Champions League fight?
I would say it's 1 or bust for both teams, to be honest. I would say if Arsenal don't win, I'd say it's Man City won the league, and if Spurs don't win, these aren't getting Champions League. So it's probably the biggest North London derby in terms of what's on the line for both teams.
We did see a big North London derby. Remember 2 years ago when Spurs and Arsenal were fighting for 4th?
Yeah,
and
Spurs
it was played in
May.
It was a game in hand that was postponed because of COVID in January, and it went in May. And Spurs were 4 points behind Arsenal with 3 games to go. Famously beat Arsenal 3-0. The atmosphere again got to the Arsenal players. Spurs made a really hostile environment, and then it was down to a point. And Spurs beat Burnley on the day before Newcastle beat Arsenal on the Monday Night Football, and that was where it all unravelled. And there was big question marks about Arteta, but they responded. So Arsenal, some of them Arsenal players have bad memories of going to Spurs this time of the year. Do you think that'll be in their heads, Owen, of what happened 2 years ago?
It could be. I am a big believer, and it doesn't matter. We've seen it in Everton, Liverpool. It doesn't matter the quality of the 2 teams. If one team's better than they are, when it's a derby, it goes out the window, because it all depends for me on what team is more up for it on the day. And see, if Spurs are more up for it and the fans get behind them, they have a big chance of doing something tomorrow. So Arsenal players will be wary of the fact that they have had bad experiences. The only thing with Arsenal is that experience could also help them in saying, lads, we don't want that to happen again, so let's make sure it doesn't.
Darren, final point. And we're going to bring it back to Liverpool, because I know they're itching. The comments are all Liverpool, but would a Spurs, if Liverpool were to beat West Ham now when we go off, Spurs beat Arsenal, are they back in the title race come 4 o'clock tomorrow before Man City kick off?
Nah. Look, don't get me wrong. Why wouldn't you say that? Because we've been the same amount of points as Arsenal. But it's the fact that Man City have that game in hand. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they don't look like they're going to drop any points at all. So if I was Klopp and we do get a result the day saying we won, we to get the 3 points, and then Spurs do beat Arsenal tomorrow, but Man City go on and beat Forest, then I would just send the boys, look, no pressure. We're just going to try and finish as high as possible. I would just keep telling them we're out of title race. Look, who else is going to drop points? Man City's not going to drop points. Arsenal might. So I would just leave it at that. I don't think we're going to win the league now. Be nice to get second, maybe. But if the two teams don't get a result tomorrow and we won today, then it's back on.
Oh, and what about you? I mean, if Liverpool won today, there is a bit of hope tomorrow that Spurs, Arsenal could go either way. And you never know with Forest. I mean, there's an argument that the referees owe them as well after what happened last week. Going to the City grounds very much, playing Forest away and Forest at home is very different. There's very intimidating atmosphere as well. They're fighting to stay up. That might not be as easy as some people think for Man City.
But I agree with Darren. Like, Klopp should just go on and say no pressure. Like, Klopp said himself, he was doing an interview and he was asked, "Did you watch a Man City game?" And he was like, "No, because I knew the result." So it's like we just have to go play our football, no pressure on us. And you know what? If Spurs beat Arsenal tomorrow, I'm still saying we're not on it. But as Darren says, if a miracle happens and Forest beat Man City, then there's a chance. But as I sit now, I just can't see Man City dropping any points between now and the 19th of May.
Yeah, boy, before we go on to the weekend's predictions, we're going to test your knowledge of North London derbies. A quick fire.
Last time I did a quiz on here, I did very well.
You did, Ben, no, I'm not. I've done 7 games this year. I'm finished for this season, but I've been to North London Derby before. I'm telling you, it's just something special.
What was the Shamrock Rovers result last night? How did that end? One each, was it?
One each.
Just wanted to find out.
Very outright second now. And Shamrock Rovers play on Monday night against Galway in their game in hands, or not Galway, Drogheda. Sorry. So if they would have won that, they would lead home. It's a very good league. The Irish league at the minute. No team really being ultra consistent. Boys, North London Derby quiz. 3 questions each. We'll ask it in order each. So, Owen, we'll come to you first.
Pressure's on.
And then we'll reverse it for the second and third question. So you can give me your answers each, and then I'll tell you if it's right or wrong. So, Owen, who has scored the most Premier League goals in the most North London Derby goals in Premier Leagues?
Are you on about the team or the individual player?
All right. What player has scored the most goals in North London derbies in the Premier League?
I'm going to just say Harry Kane.
Darren, what about you?
I'm going to say Harry Kane.
Harry Kane, yes, just overtaken Henry before he left Spurs. Harry Kane is the correct answer. I think it's 17 he scores. I think Henry scored.
I knew it was Henry or Kane, but I thought
I was thinking Henry.
Now, there's a few players that have done this, so you might not necessarily have the same answer. Owen, name a player to score for both teams in the North London Derby.
Adebayor.
Anybody different, Darren, on your head?
Saul Campbell.
Saul Campbell was another one, yep. And final question, lads. How many times have Arsenal won at the new Spurs Stadium? So Spurs Stadium opened in 2019. We're now in 2024.
Ooh.
One.
Owen?
I'm going to say none.
Darren is correct. They won at the Spurs Stadium for the first time last season. I think
that's right, I couldn't remember.
Ben says he's just glad that Harry Kane's not playing tomorrow. Funny enough, I've never seen a man score as many penalties against one team. He even scored a penalty for Bayern Munich against Arsenal. He always seems to get penalties against Arsenal.
If he ends up winning the Champions League with Bayern this year, he'll be a happy boy.
Yeah. Boys, let's go on to the weekend's predictions. Starting in about 20 minutes' time, West Ham take on Liverpool. Owen, how do you see it going?
I don't even know, to be honest. I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool. Darren?
I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool.
Full house for me. I think Liverpool respond today and get 3 points. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Liverpool victory. Fulham take on Crystal Palace at 3 o'clock. Two teams that are pretty much safe. But Palace are in really good form.
Aye, they've been flying in the last few weeks. Sadly, me and Darren know that all too well. But I'm gonna say they continue their form here. I'm gonna go 2-0 Palace.
Similar question the earlier on, Darren, about West Ham's players. There's some players at Crystal Palace could do a great job at bigger clubs. You look at Elise and Eze.
Aye, two great players. No, your man Eze was brilliant against us.
The same team have come back from injury. Palace are flying.
Aye, and your man Montella up front, who's playing a fucking stormer.
Yeah.
But I do think Crystal Palace. I do think Crystal Palace are a great side at the moment. And they're playing well, but I do think Fulham a bunch back from their last week, and I think Fulham 1-0.
Oh, and what did you say? Sorry.
I said the only thing with Eze and Lisa is can they stay fit for a full season, which might put people off.
What's your prediction for this game?
I said 2-0 Palace.
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think it could be quite entertaining. Man United take on Burnley at 3 o'clock. United still trying to finish as high as possible. 7 points behind Spurs. Have played a game more, but could go 4 points behind Spurs before they kick off tomorrow. And points on the board at this stage of the season are quite crucial. They made heavy weather at Sheffield United during the week going. And Burnley have only lost once in their last 7 games. Seem to be fighting their best form towards the end of the season, and there is still a money glimmer that they could stay up, but they probably need a result here. But I just wonder, Burnley have been playing quite well in recent weeks, and they may look at this as a favourable fixture because United are conceding a lot of goals.
They are, but same as they are now. I think Burnley might get an early goal and United won it at the end, so I'm going to go 2-1 Man United.
I just think United's got too much for Burnley. I think Burnley they play football that the players can't. If you know what I'm saying, like Company tried to play a possession-based football and he hasn't got the players to do it. That's what I'm trying to say.
He tried to play the way he played in the Championship and it's not working.
Yeah, and it doesn't work because he's playing against superior teams. And I think United's going to have far too much for Burnley today. And I think it's going to be 3-0 United. And on there, you're going to have a Bruno Fernandes penalty.
Do you know what? I just look at this fixture and I think Burnley might get something today. I really do. If Burnley don't make any of them colossal errors at the back, they're going to give United a good game. So I'm going to stick my hat out and go a 2-1-1 for Burnley. I just think United have been getting away with it in recent games, and Burnley will come there confidence, kind of nothing they lose in terms of a lot of people think they're already down. They're out to prove a point. I think they've been bang unlucky. I mean, they went to Chelsea a few weeks ago and got a draw with 10 men. So they are capable. If they don't make any of them silly mistakes they do, sometimes with the goalkeeper and the defenders, they've got a chance. So I'm going to back them and say Burnley are going to win 2-1.
Speaking of United, what do we reckon? Ten Hag season gone. Staying.
I think even if he wins the FA Cup, they'll make a change.
I think you're right.
I agree.
And it's a big off because Man City in a cup final just don't lose many, do they? Newcastle, Sheffield United. Newcastle were coming back on the form, but they had a bit of a setback at Palace the other night. So it very much looks like Newcastle's they're fighting for sixth and probably no higher. I don't think they can catch Spurs in fifth now. Sheffield United, I think even Chris Wilder's conceded that they've already checked out. They're going to the Championship. So Newcastle at home one, they could probably spank Sheffield if they turn up.
I think they will. I'm going to go 5-0.
5-0 Newcastle.
Me too. 5-0 for me as well.
I'm going to say 3-0. I'm not going to be as brutal as you boys.
They've conceded 90. They've conceded 90 goals this season.
Aye, they're not great. They're not great at the back.
You say they're odds on. They concede 100 before the last ball's kicked. Wolves take on Luton. It's crunch time for Luton. They've only 2 wins in 16 games, despite some honourable, incredible performances. But a bit like Everton previously, their recent form, they're fighting it hard. They won games, and the time is running out for Luton. Owen, can they win this game today, and can they stay up?
No and no. So I'm gonna go 2-0 Wolves. I think Wolves need a bit of a look because again on the other night more VAR stuff. It must be hard to be a Wolves fan.
Darren, what about you? Wolves, I suppose, are safe, so maybe this is a game Luton might look at and think you'd rather be playing teams that have nothing to play for as opposed to teams that do. And Luton, they need results. They're only 1 point behind Forest. We don't know how that appeal for Forest to go. But I kind of think if Luton will have it in the back of their heads, they probably need to win at least 2 of these final 4 to stay up.
Look, Luton's away results haven't been great this season. Like I don't think they've picked up more than 4 points all season. So, and Wolves do play good football. They just have been really unlucky with VAR and decisions and stuff like that. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Wolves 1. I just don't think Luton have enough about them. They have a lot of injuries as well. So I just don't think I think Wolves are going to be too strong for them.
I'm going to go different again. I think Wolves have quite a lot of injuries. Nothing really to play for. I know they've had some terrible decisions.
You're making this relegation battle very interesting.
I know, yeah.
I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Luton will get something today. Everton take on Brentford in the 5:30 kickoff. 2 teams that are safe now, really. Everton needs a win today would guarantee safety. Owen, do you think this is a great opportunity? If they play a Brentford team now, they're safe. If they won, they know they're staying up, regardless of any appeals.
I'm going to go same result as the other night. Unfortunately, I'm going to go 2-0 Everton.
Me too. 2-0 Everton.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Everton 1. I think there's a cup final at Villa Park at 8 o'clock. I believe if Villa won this game, I don't see Spurs catching them, even if they do win tomorrow. With Spurs' fixtures at Anfield and Man City still they play. Villa would have 9 points in Spurs tonight if they were to beat Chelsea, even though they've played 3 games more. Them points on the board at this stage, I think, are crucial. So a cup final for Aston Villa, Owen, for me, if they won this game, they can start playing the Champions League music for next year. And Chelsea were in good form up until that damage and defeat at Chelsea or at Arsenal the other night.
But you know what? Villa being at home, I'm going to go 2-1 Aston Villa.
I'm going to go 4-0 Villa because I think Chelsea are dogs dinner.
I just can't see anything else. I think Villa will win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Chelsea 1 or
Fair play,
Villa 1. Sorry, 3-1 Villa 1.
Emery has to be up there for manager of the year for me.
100%. Bournemouth take on Brighton at 2 o'clock tomorrow. 2 teams again that are safe. Brighton, I think the Zebra's on his way out. I think the players know it as well. Bournemouth did get a good one at Wolves the other night, and they've had quite a decent season despite a lot of criticism when they replaced O'Neill last summer. So I don't know how this game will go, but Owen, I think Bournemouth will be favourites.
I'm gonna go 1-1.
So am I, 1 each.
Very similar to they are.
Bournemouth for me, they're going to win this. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Bournemouth 1. The North London Derby is your live game on Sky Sports. Crucial day in the title race with Man City kicking off directly after at Nottingham Forest. You feel Arsenal need to win to stay in the race because of Man City's form. Owen, is the title race going to be over tomorrow, or are Arsenal going to keep Man City honest?
This is I'm gonna go. No, what I'm gonna go mad. I'm gonna go 3 each.
3-3 draw. There has been a few 3-3 games over the years.
I remember the 4-4 one. That was brilliant. But anyway, I think it's going to pan out. I think Arsenal. I think Spurs get in there to goal and defend for 70 minutes, and then Arsenal's going to throw everything at them, and Spurs are going to break on them with their quick three quick centre forwards and 2-0 Spurs.
Darn, I really hope so.
That's what I think. I think Arsenal are going to shit the bed tomorrow.
Maybe I'm being a bit biased, but Spurs at home. Arsenal, it's a cup final for us as well. Yeah. We're going to beat Arsenal, and we're going to say we're going to win 2-1.
Love it.
Nottingham Forest take on Man City at 4:30. If the results go the way we do, Man City could near enough be crowned champions. Obviously not mathematically, but more or less if they won at Forest. Owen, how do you see that game going?
6-0 Nottingham Forest. No, 4-0 Man City.
4-0 City, an hour 4.
I'll go
4 in the last 4 games.
Right, I'll go with Sif 2-0 Man City.
2-0.
I see it's like I think Forest, regardless of what happens in the Spurs Arsenal game, we're going to turn up and make it difficult. But I obviously think City will have enough. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 Man City 1. I think Forest will give Man City a half decent game.
See if not, the Forest go 1-0 up, I'm not even celebrating. I'll just be all right. Well, we know what's going to happen.
Boys, that takes us to the end of the podcast. Brilliant having you on for the 15 minutes there. West Ham Liverpool kicks off in just under 10 minutes, just over 10 minutes time. So best of
It's
luck today.
it's
Brilliant to
nice
have
to
you
have
on.
a game on and not have any nerves about it.
All right, so I think I'm dead easy. Usually I've been nervous, but
today the nerves may return tomorrow. So it's Premier League. You never know what to expect, boys. Brilliant to have you on, Owen.
Thanks very much.
What we be up to now over the weekend? And where can people find you?
I'll be watching the football over the weekend, and I'll be getting my channel back up and running during the Euros. So look out for that.
Brilliant. Darren, what about you? Still traveling the world, working?
Still traveling. We out Monday morning in the Bearland for another week of work. And I'll be back on Thursday night then. Hopefully, a wee bit more happier. Come back last week.
Brilliant, lads. Brilliant to have you on. And if you're new around here, well, I thank all of you for the comments as well. Brilliant interaction from you all. Obviously, we love it. That's why we do it live. And it's good to have your interaction. But if you're new around here, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content. We'll be back next weekend, or we're actually going to do an earlier show. We'll be doing obviously a review show on Monday night or Tuesday night, but we'll be back earlier next week. We'll be doing the Liverpool Spurs preview before the weekend. So make sure to check that one out, boys. Brilliant to have you on, and enjoy the football this weekend.
Cheers.
Cheers, see you later.